Hi, everyone. We'll give a couple minutes here as we are just getting started to let people continue to get into the webinar room, and then we will get started with our event today. Really excited to have all you guys. All right, can everyone see my screen okay? Awesome. So welcome to our Meet the Buyer event today. We are really excited to have you all here and an exciting panel to discuss sustainability and product selection and some of the brands that we work with here at PSC who are really innovating in this space, and also excited to welcome our new retailer guest. Just want to start out with a little quick bit here about what is PSC. PSC is a industry nonprofit group made up of members all throughout the pet industry supply chain. Oh, there we go. We as an organization help our members to advance their sustainability through profitable environmental and social practices. You'll see here we have members from all different types of the supply chain. We work with retailers, distributors, manufacturers, brands, all with a mission to create positive impact for the pet industry. Kind of two major ways in which we work with our member companies themselves to help accelerate their impact. And then we also work with the broader pet industry over key challenges that we find that are too hard for the industry to solve alone. These key challenges for us are around packaging waste, sourcing ingredients, and building an inclusive and diverse pet industry. Here today, we'll be hearing from brands that have completed the PSC accreditation and kind of just a little bit about what sets the PSC accreditation apart. We have companies measure their operations against the Sustainable Development Goals. We go in and do a rigorous verification of that assessment. And then we also have these companies commit to continuous improvement. So really here, what we're trying to do is provide a way for retailers and other industry partners to vet and verify sustainable brands. So having said that, we will get into introductions of our panel. First, we have Art Simon, co-founder of Molly Mutt. Art, do you want to give us a little quick intro to yourself and Molly Mutt?
Sure. Molly Mutt was founded in 2009. Our vision was to try to do something to impact the pet bed business. We saw tremendous waste going on, particularly at the opening price point in pet beds, where they went from the store shelf to the garbage can in record time because everybody was trying to make something as inexpensive as possible. So our concept was to come up with a way that would be beneficial for the pet, beneficial for the owner. And we came up with the Molly Mutt brand at that time and the Molly Mutt product, which reuses textiles people have in their home, pillows, blankets, old clothes, and makes that the stuffing. And that's been kind of the genesis of our business and how we got started.
Awesome. Thanks, Mark. Chisholm, CEO of The Better Bone. You want to give us a quick intro?
Absolutely. Besides updating my LinkedIn profile picture, yeah, Better Bone really, we have 25 years of sustainable manufacturing with our partners that we started the company with. We've been around about 2 years in the market. We've taken our time. We think we developed an alternative to nylon and other, virgin plastics in the market. The Better Bone is made out of sugarcane oil and then food grade wood cellulose. And with that, we can actually change the density of the bone. So our original one is really made to be safe on teeth, really more kind of for puppies, older dogs, or just kind of your medium chewer. And then with that, we've developed over the last year and a half a denser bone, which we're calling the super chewer, and a patent pending way to flavor the bones, where we actually take dehydrated dried dog food and actually introduce that into the composite. So the dog bone is actually dog food instead of being flavored with something odd or unnatural, really keeping it in the vein of an all natural product. And yeah, we have some other products coming out, leashes and collars that are all ocean bound, plastic, and fair trade certified. So we're excited about a lot of those. Those are launching here shortly, but the bone, great product, and we're looking forward to continue developing it.
Awesome. Thanks, Chisholm. Dan, good now. CEO of the Natural Dog Company. Love to get a quick intro, Dan.
Sure. Yeah. So I started the Natural Dog Company back in 2009, same year that Sounds Like Art started things as well. We focus on single ingredient and simple ingredient dog chews. Try to focus on free range grass-fed cattle whenever possible, as well as locally sourced ingredients, and ways to try to promote sustainability on the dog chew side. So in the last year, we launched an alligator skin product. And if you don't know much about alligators and the way that they're managed, it's actually a pretty cool sustainability story that I'm happy to share, probably not today, but another time, along with a lot of the core products that we do, a lot of free-range grass-fed beef and various byproducts that people are not eating that otherwise might go other places, but are perfectly good dog chews. Sustainability has always been a pretty core belief for me, and something that I've always tried to promote wherever I can. And in that, we try to do what we can to offset some of our impact in the business. So we've been focusing on a number of different initiatives to help drive the sustainability the program in our company. And PSC has been an awesome partner in terms of helping us know what's out there and vet some of the options and say, hey, this makes sense, you should move forward on that. And so it's been awesome because it's kind of a shortcut for us in terms of trying to get to where we're trying to go.
Awesome. Thanks, Dan. Quickly, before I turn it over to Rachel to introduce herself and Simple Switch, we will do a portion at the end of the event for question and answer. So be sure to enter those into the Q&A option on the webinar panel, and we will get to those at the end of the event. We are excited to hear from everyone, but please remember as well to be courteous and respectful as you are interacting with our panelists. So Rachel, I'll turn it over to you to give us an intro to Simple Switch, and I'll let you take it from there.
Sounds great. Hey guys, I'm Rachel. I'm the founder and CEO of Simple Switch. We are the online marketplace for sustainable and ethically sourced products. So our mission is essentially to make it just as easy as Amazon to shop online for businesses and individuals both, for thousands of products. We're at 8,000, I think, this week, but often that's jumping up by hundreds or thousands each week. So always come back for more, probably these pet products. And we got started out of my own consumer frustration. So, it's called Simple Switch for a reason, because I, as a consumer who cared a lot about sustainability and social impact, made a big commitment that I was going to, vote with my dollar, as they say, and start only buying products I knew I could trust and that were vetted. And pretty immediately, within hours, realized it was going to be a lot harder than I thought, because although online shopping had gotten easier and easier, sustainable and ethical online shopping hadn't really kept up with that. And there was not really a place where you could go for one-stop shop of all of the products that you need, and the easy ordering, and the not having 18 tabs open, not to mention the transparency around true sustainable and social products. So, what is fair trade really? And what does this certification mean? And, is this greenwashing, or can I trust that that's a true impact? So that has been our journey. I had that frustration 6 years ago, and now we've been selling for 4 years. And we sell everything from toilet paper, soap, coffee, to skateboards, and all sorts of different things. So I'm really excited to be here, because I think the pet industry is such a perfect example of this, of things that people need and want to buy, and need and want to buy easily, because that's happening all the time. But that is not always, nice on people or our planet. And I don't think any, especially pet owners, are pretty compassionate people. So that we don't really have people who wouldn't want to make a positive impact who are buying pet products, right? So really excited to hear more. Let's see, I hadn't really thought about ordering this, but my first question is just around that, right? Around this simple switch idea for each of you. And I'll kind of call you out so it's not an awkward who's going to talk now. But can you guys tell us a little bit about, why do you feel like it is a simple and easy solution for you, or for customers, for pet owners? And then also what sets it apart? Why is it a good switch? Why should people do this? What's the positive impact? Just tell us a little bit more. Let's go with Art first.
Well, thank you, Rachel. So we think Molly Mutt's a very simple switch. And the reason is really threefold: looking at the consumer, looking at the dog, and looking even at the retailer. When you remove stuffing from a dog bed and you let the customer supply it, a lot of good things happen. First and foremost is that the product itself is a smaller product, and it allows for display in the store, taking up a lot less space. It allows for transportation that takes up a lot less resource, and it allows for storage all the way through. But most importantly, it allows for a lot more of the product to get the dollars involved. In other words, when you look at on a store shelf and you're looking at a big bulky item, like, for example, a stuffed dog bed or any other big bulky item, you can be assured that a great percentage of that price point is involved in the transportation just to get that product to the shelf. And when you remove that and you make the transportation piece easier, it's a lot easier to put more dollars towards the construction of the product. So that was the recipe that we wanted to launch with. We have dogs. My business partner and co-founder Molly has 3 dogs at the time, living in an apartment in San Francisco. So she knew how difficult it was to wash a dog bed, how difficult it was to keep smell out of the dog bed, and then quite frankly, how a lot of options didn't really match the home decor. So we went about trying to solve all those issues, and the benefit is when you enable folks to use textiles or use things around the home that they already have as the stuffing, it carries their scent, and their scent is what calms and comforts the dog. So it's a win-win-win all the way through. It's a very simple idea. It's a simple switch. Initially, when we started in 2009, people looked at us like we were crazy. We would get the comment quite a bit, hey, I'm trying to buy a whole dog bed and not just this thing. And then, over the years, we've stuck with it, and customers have now understand the benefits all the way through. So it's a very simple thing to do.
That's awesome. Yeah, I love it. We have, anything that we have that's sustainable as a product. I love what you mentioned. Not only is it more sustainable because you guys aren't producing something new, so less materials, right? But then also the carbon emissions from not having to ship all those new materials and using. But one thing, I haven't tried one of your dog beds yet, but I do have an ottoman that has the same concept. And we love having it be something that we stuff, because then we're also avoiding all this textile waste. For us, it's with things like curtains or old, ripped sheets, things like that. And I hadn't thought about the smell. That's so lovely. So great to learn more about why that's a perfect simple switch. Dan, how about you? Tell us more with the Natural Dog Company.
Yeah, great. And Art, thank you for talking while my dogs are barking at the other dogs walking through the office. So sorry if they get a little rambunctious again.
Perfect and topical on this panel. I think if we hear a dog bark, we won't.
It's the one place where it's acceptable, I think. You're right. So with regard to the Natural Dog Company, we really saw a need when we started the company around a natural treat that we could be excited that our dogs were chewing on, and we felt good about the sourcing of that item, but also saw a lot of opportunity when it came to what we could do to minimize the impact. Our product just by the nature of what it is, we have to really control the quality and the integrity because it's a food-based product. And so we have to always be aware of kind of like what's it's coming in contact with and where it could be, because at the end of the day, we're regulated by FDA and USDA, and we really have to be aware of what's going on. We know that we've got food products that are going into homes, and potentially toddlers could be touching these things, and who knows what they do with them. I have a couple, and so, it's hard to control them day to day. So, part of our mission and what we've been trying to do is to say, okay, we've got these things that are happening in our business. We have to use plastic packaging to maintain the integrity so that there's no bugs that are going to get into the product, and that, nobody's going to touch this, or something couldn't happen to the product in that way. So, we started looking at ways that we could start to offset some of that, given that. And so working with PSC, we found a great outfit called Repurpose Global, where we could offset all of our plastic usage. And it's been awesome for us. And so we basically have been measuring all of our plastic usage that we use in our products and offsetting that pound for pound with an outfit down in Bogota, Colombia. So, in terms of the simple switch for us, that's one of the things that we're doing. We're actually, we also, as you might be able to see a little bit back there, we also switched all of our packaging to No. 4 recyclable bags. So we know that not a lot of people are actually recycling. I think it's about 8% of recyclable material or 8% of plastic ends up getting recycled. So we like the idea of trying to take both recyclable packaging as an option, as well as the plastic neutrality, to try to offset as much as we can in terms of what we kind of have to do in terms of our business. But yeah, so I would say the simple switch for us, in addition to trying to source the products from an ethical place and make sure that they're sourced from free range grass-fed cattle, which we know has a lesser impact than feedlot cattle, is to say that we're trying to make an impact throughout the process, from the beginning through all the way to the end consumer, in terms of what we're doing to offset our impact.
That's awesome. Yeah, I think one key thing that jumps out to me there is about adoptability, right? And if we're talking about adult products, it's one thing, right? Like recyclability is really important to look at, but also thinking about, the actual practicality and sustainability of something like a pet product or even a kid's product. There really needs to be more practical. We can't just be wishing, right, for this to be well adopted. And I think that plays in well, like with what you guys are doing with recycling. We've worked with Repurpose, and I love they pitched that the plastic neutral program is kind of a stopgap. They're not saying we want to be here forever. It's truly the sustained legacy impact that we're all trying to make. But in the meantime, if people are not going to recycle it, then we have to have something in between to make sure that we're, fueling that innovation. So love that you brought that up.
Yeah.
Very cool. Cool. And then Kizem with the Better Bone, tell us all about it.
Sure. Yeah. So really, this is a brainchild of the unfortunate circumstances of one of our business partners, Bernie Doodles, having some issues with nylon products, rope products, and really our background, married with our background in sustainability. So the material that we use, we've actually had around for quite a while. It's been used in Europe in multiple applications. And then we're sitting around during the pandemic. And really our business partner's dog had to have 2 extraction surgeries within 3 months of one another, given quality of products and the materials that were being used. And so we really looked and saw what we already had and how we could improve, maybe on dog bones, that were not only sustainable, but safer, and just safer in general for the family. So because of our background in Europe, we have to adhere to all REACH EU standards, which means there's nothing carcinogenic, mutagenic, nothing artificial that could be harmful, SVHCs, things of that nature. And then with that, nothing that can splinter. So with all of those qualities, we thought we had the perfect, material that would suit a dog bone. And so we kind of made a mold of what we thought what we thought our dogs would like, pumped a few out, and ended up with a bone that dogs just love. So we source our materials. Actually, all the wood cellulose is PEFC certified And to pair that also with our packaging, that's all FSC 100% recycled certified. And the other aspect of it is sustainably grown sugarcane. Typically, it's always sugarcane oil. Depends on, we're typically growing in Croatia. So that's all greenhouse. Everything, our entire supply chain is all certified, which is fantastic. The bone itself, we just got RCS certified, recycled content, because the actual wood cellulose is coming from pine and fir tree, the trunks only, none of the bark, none of the leaves, cones, anything like that, to prevent any sort of allergies. So that's why the bone is hypoallergenic in that sense, where there's nothing allergen causing potentially. Obviously, this is up to the individual to ultimately decide what they want. But with that said, we actually take the waste from furniture mills that are using the PEFC wood. So a lot of those you'll see PEFC, sustainably forested furniture. We're actually taking their waste to make the bones. So it's technically upcycled or recycled, however you'd like to, call it at that point. We go back and forth. But with that, my business partners are really smart people, and they've been able to come up with a density that's really perfect as an alternative to specifically nylon. Nylon was kind of the product and the material that we were most concerned with, given what happened with the, to be honest, I've never had any issues, my dog personally, safety wise, but you hear about it from a lot of other people and in the market in general. And what comes along with that is also, reduced CO2, reduced water waste, reduced carbon footprint, and overall safety of the product. So we think it's a pretty simple switch if you're looking for an alternative to just virgin plastics, nylons, rope products, rubber products. And then, we have a super chewer. The biggest complaint we've ever had is, hey, your bones are a little too soft. Because of the nature of the original is to protect teeth, clean teeth, and it'll flake off as it goes. And it's safe for the dogs to pass because it is wood fiber. It's actually the same fiber they use in cheap Parmesan cheese and to add to yogurt. So it's perfectly safe. You'll see it, and it'll actually biodegrade over time. The new super chewer version, we were able to actually increase the density by increasing the amount of wood in the product. And those are actually on par as far as shore hardness density for nylon. So they will perform like a nylon bone. They are obviously not nylon. And we're really proud of that. That's taken about 1.5 years of development and back and forth. And we think all this paired with a price point that's really on par with nylon, we make it an easy opportunity for the consumer to give us a try without, because there is, the sustainability tax, and we didn't want to have any of that affecting the adoption rate of our product. If we want to actually make a change, then we need to make it an easy, kind of no-brainer for them. So we think that's where our advantages lie and why would be a fairly simple switch for most people.
That's awesome. Oh, this is so great to just hear. I think all three of you touched on this and I hadn't mentioned it yet, but the other really important thing with it being a simple switch is it has to actually be a really good product. Like it's saying that I think we all the time, on social media and on our website and things say it's only sustainable if you can sustain it. And with pet products, that might look like the durability of the bone. Like if people are just having a terrible experience and the bone's falling apart and their dog is a real chewer, like that's just not going to work. And same with,
Right.
all of y'all's products. So that's something that we hear a lot, is that not only, we don't necessarily vet for it to be an above and beyond amazing product because, technically we are vetting for the impact, but I've never seen one of our brands not have above and beyond quality in their products, because just like all of you mentioned, it wouldn't be adopted without that. And if we're really trying to make impact, sustainable or social, if people aren't going to use it, then it's not going to be impactful no matter, how great it could be.
Right.
So my question for you guys next is, and this will look so different for each of you, which I'm excited to hear, but how do you guys measure your impact? So that could be measuring it for, making innovative decisions, right? Like, are we going to add more wood fiber, or, are we going to listen to all these complaints about the whole beds, or whatever that may be? How do you measure to make decisions? And then also, how do you measure to communicate to your customers? Because I think, like I said, I started this company out of this frustration that came from, it's actually really hard to know what matters and what doesn't matter. And so you guys have this really unique opportunity to also educate. So I'm curious, whether that looks like life cycle analysis or third-party certifications like PSC, what plays a major role for you guys in that journey? Let's go
I guess,
backwards this time. Oh, okay, no,
Yeah.
sorry.
no, go
We
ahead.
can start with you because you obviously are ready, which is perfect. So
No, I was going to say, if you want to start in another,
no, it's good. I just forgot to call someone out as promised. So there you go.
Yeah, so obviously, we're very proud of the fact that we call ourselves original members of the PSC. We're not a big company, and we were not a founding member of PSC, but we've been around ever since. We've been members since PSC has been formed. And that has allowed us to really learn a lot and to get some third-party verification, and particularly the last few years as the accreditation program has come through. We look forward to that every year. We are an independently owned company. We don't have outside investors, and we don't have, we're not venture backed. So really, we make a decision based on what our goals and what our values are. And there's, Molly and I and our team get together, and we just talk about very basic things. And, for example, the little Swift tags that hold a POP tag onto a textile product. A couple of years ago, there was a recycled plastic that was developed for those, tags. And we thought, gee, what a good idea. And then our warehouse manager says, well, you still got to get rid of that, recycled plastic. A fish in the ocean doesn't care if they're eating a recycled plastic tag or not. And so we just eliminated the Swift tag, and we went to hand tied instead. And, those type of things are how we do a lot of what we do. We just try to look at the impact, look at the product, and just eliminate what we can and switch what we can. So when we have the opportunity for PSC to come in once a year and measure our impact, it's a good exercise for us and really encourages us to address topics and address things that, otherwise we might not get around to. So, being involved with PSC is very important. We also create a partnership with EcoCart year before last. EcoCart is one of the checkout options where consumer can decide to offset their carbon. But EcoCart, they happen to be located near us here in the Bay Area, and they were just getting started, and we were able to engage them in a fuller way. And so we had them actually measure the whole life cycle of our product, the manufacturing, the shipping, and just kind of get an overall greenhouse gas analysis of our product. And then to really try to analyze, well, gee, if a customer does use things in their home, what is that benefit? And so EcoCart measured it, and PSC confirmed that actually if somebody uses our solution and reuses textiles from their home, they're saving 85% of the, they're offsetting 85% of the greenhouse gases that would normally go to producing a traditionally stuffed dog bed. And, that's a major impact. And, to your point, Rachel, if the product that they got doing that, if all it did was that impact, okay, there might be some people out there who would do that. But, the product's got to look really good in our category. Product's got to look really good in the house. It has to wash really well. The dog has to really like it. And the materials have to be materials that people can understand. People are spending a lot of money on treats. They're spending a lot of money on dog food, and they're seeking out ingredients that they can understand when they read a label. And so we want that same experience when somebody's going to buy a Molly Mutt product. We want it to say cotton. We don't want it to say a bunch of things that people have to figure out what is involved. So that's the way we try to measure our impact.
Awesome. Yeah, so great. And definitely the communication aspect as well, because I think, something like an EcoCart or something like the materials you're using are really, really thoughtful and intentional decisions. And sometimes they're going to have, hours, weeks, months of debate on y'all side. But to be able to put that out where a customer can adopt it and understand why it's a great decision is a feat. So congratulations.
Thank you. I don't want to go too far down the rabbit hole, but there are easy things that people can do. In our category, again, you can quote unquote a few years ago say it was organic cotton, but you really got to go and dive into that to find out what's really happening on the organic cotton side of the world. And that's why we also joined Textile Exchange, and we're pleased to be able to get some help. Small company, how are we going to keep up with all these things? And particularly, listening to Chisholm and to Dan and all the research that goes on into what they're doing.
That's something else I was going to mention is, the
gotta
collaboration, not only with PSC, but with other brands, like the brands that we have on our site. Similarly to what Ashley mentioned about PSC, one of the things that we ask them to commit to is just further improvement. And a big way that we are able to facilitate them doing that, it's frankly my favorite part of my job, is introducing two brands that have different strengths. And that diversity of thought, helps. So we have both social and environmental. So we might have a brand that makes, jewelry that fights human trafficking, but they're shipping in plastic packaging. And that's just like not the focus. But then we have a product that's shipping in home compostable packaging, and for them to meet and help each other, doubles the impact of both of them. So cool. So it sounds like you guys do that really, really well, even with listening to the people in your warehouse about plastic tags, but also, being able to reach out to other brands like the ones here, just is what makes me most excited about all of this stuff. So thanks for that. Dan, how about you? How do you guys measure to make decisions? How do you guys measure to communicate, and everywhere in between?
Sure. Yeah. I think for us, we're also a small independent company. We don't have any outside investment. And so because of that, the benefit is there's not anybody you got to run these ideas by. On the downside, we have to be really careful, and we have to manage all of our dollars according to, making sure that the business continues to grow and exist. And so, I think the decision-making matrix for me and the team is saying, hey, we got these so many awesome ideas. There's so many ways that we could go. What makes the most sense for us from a financial standpoint? What makes the most sense for us from a customer standpoint? What can we execute on so that, we're making the most impact as we go? And so I think, for us, there are so many things that we want to do, but starting with the plastic, I think for us was a great place to start, because, for instance, the repurpose global, for those that haven't done it, it's about as easy a solution as I could think of. It's pretty much plug and play. You work with them, they figure out, you figure out how much plastic you're using. They'll, come up with a number in terms of, hey, this is how much, you guys need to offset. And we went with it, and it was like, I've said this before at different PSC functions, but if everything was this easy from a sustainability standpoint, I would be over the moon. We would do everything because it was just, it's really easy. And that's the challenge, I think, with a lot of, especially being at the helm of a brand. You want to make an impact. You certainly want to be at the point where you're like, hey, we're doing all these awesome things, but your almost next step is to then become an expert, across a whole bunch of things that you didn't expect. Like, hey, I'm trying to do payroll. I'm trying to keep these employees going. I'm trying to, hit a fill rate. And then, by the way, we also need you to know everything about solar panel manufacturing before you can make the next step. You're like, that's not in my brain. Like, I have to do these other things. And so it really
shouldn't be,
Yeah,
so.
right. Exactly. It's like, tell me what the answer is, and I'm happy to move forward. And I think that's one of the benefits around PSC is that they're able to dig in and do that research and say, yep, this makes sense, or this, here are the options. These are, this is the relative impact between these two decisions, and then you can make the choice. And it's not necessarily prescriptive, but it certainly, like I said before, it's kind of that shortcut where it's like, yep, we've done the research, you're on the right path, go forth. And that's been fantastic for me, especially because I don't want to be an expert on solar panel manufacturing. I don't want to know what, how heavy my roof can support and all this other stuff. I just want to say yes or no. So for us, we are sustainably minded, but very rooted in practicality at the same time, and trying to find that line to walk is really, what we're trying to do in the company. I've got big ideas in terms of where I would like things to go, but we kind of have to start with certain things that we can kind of go down the path. And whenever we pick up savings from one sustainability project that kind of offsets other places that we weren't really measuring, my rule is to roll those savings into the next sustainability program. And that's what we've been trying to do as we go along.
Yeah, I love that. And such a good point. We started selling to businesses this year. So this is always top of mind for me for this exact reason, because for us, we got nicknamed the gateway drug to sustainability at a conference I went to recently. And the reason is exactly what you're saying, right? Like you guys should be focused on parts of your impact, right? Like if you're focused on packaging or focused on working with repurpose. But there are so many, just the same way as for our individual consumers, there's so many things for them to think about for their dog, for their house, for their family, about sustainability, which is tough. And that's why we like to make it easier in one-stop shop. For business owners, I would argue that there's even more things to think about. And so, for us, like our bestseller for businesses is toilet paper. The same way you're like, I don't want to be a solar panel, expert. It's like, well, someone shouldn't have to be, other than our toilet paper brands who are obviously,
sure,
people shouldn't have to be experts in that. So I just think that that's really important also, and not one of my questions, but I love the rabbit trail of it. One of our values for Simple Switch is ease without apathy. And I feel like that's the same thing I want for all of our brands, right? It's not just for our customers. I also want it for the companies working with us, because everyone shouldn't have to be an expert on everything, but we can facilitate this collaboration that really helps us all move forward. So yeah, great point. And thanks for that. And then Chisholm, how about with the Better Bone? What does measurement look like for you guys? And how do third parties play into that or not? And how do you communicate what you guys are doing?
Yeah, they play a huge role to Dan's and yours point. You only know what you know, and you're doing your best to improve day by day on where you think you can add the most value, right? Like, hey, I know that our product can do X. I can't be, reliant on, I can't do all the research myself. So third parties like PSC, like our LCAs, they're so important to us because we just don't, for us to be able to measure some of that stuff, the LCA ties into what PSC is doing, but someone's taking it seriously when they're asking for typically LCAs, right? Like these are costly studies. They mean a lot in the context of what we're discussing here. They mean a lot in the context of sustainability as a whole. And to that point, we have to rely on those people. We're pretty much, at least at the Better Bone, we're material experts. Outside of that, we're not even marketing guys. We have to rely on third-party marketers because all we can do is what we can do. So we rely on our supply chain, really vetting them closely as best we can, and relying on the information we're getting from them, and then taking that and then trying to make the best product possible to make the most impact, right? So, we're reducing wastewater, reducing CO2 by 85%. We're reducing, no new plastics as a whole, 0% new fossil fuels used. I think that's something that doesn't get discussed about, is like fossil fuel is a finite resource. We should probably also just conserve it as a whole in general for future generations, because we may never be able to get rid of it completely. Obviously, we'd love to, but there's so many factors that we have to play into. So, that's why we continue to develop the product. We're privately owned. It's me and 5 other guys that really run this, and a couple ladies, and we've taken our time to really try and make sure that what we're doing is in the right direction and the quality of the product is there and what we're saying is actually true. Because, as they touched on as well, there's a lot of greenwashing. There's a lot of, you love the tags that say 100% recycled. Well, is it the tag or is it the product? product? Is it the shorts that it's on? You know, those type of things are frustrating to consumers. And so to really kind of make sure we're not doing that, you know, we're not a part of this flippant, you know, oh, everything's recycled when it's actually not. So yeah, we rely on them a ton, and we're constantly looking for new meaningful certifications. You know, it meant a lot to us to just get our RCS one. That's a huge one, especially from the European standpoint. And I think with our background, being in Europe, they've been taking it seriously for a very long time, but then now trying to kind of layer that on to what we do in the United States. And some of this is in its infancy and some of it's not. You know, with our bones, we're actually going to try and start a recycling program where we can actually take, our bones are circular. So when you get to a certain point with your bone, we're trying to get it dialed in to where it's going to be useful in the context of CO2. And if we're not just, it's not just, you know, wasting a bunch of gas, sending bones back, or maybe it's a collection point at certain retail stores or something like that. And then we bring it all back in, we grind it up, and we can make another bone with it. So, you know, we're constantly looking for things like that, but we know we're heading in the right direction. You know, when we have people like, you know, PSC to be there every year, you know, and help us, you know, navigate what's important. And then communicating that we're working on that. You know, it's hard to get everybody involved in the minutia of it because we're a lot of nuts and bolts guys. So it's like, you know, I could talk for days about it, but yeah, I mean, we have to rely on these people to make sure that we're doing the right thing. So.
Absolutely. Well, I have all of y'all's websites up just in case it sparks any interesting questions for me. And I feel like you do a pretty good job of communicating it, so don't be too hard on yourself. But yeah, I mean, like I knew what you guys were up to and the impact that you're making. So I do, to be fair, have a little bit more of a trained eye for it.
Yeah,
so
of course.
Doing this all the time, literally my full-time job. But yeah, I think I just love to hear what you guys are doing because you guys are measuring and communicating across. We always say if we're asking if a brand is sustainable, we're not only asking about things like the packaging. We say you know, where it's made, where and how it's made, where and how it's shipped, where and how it's used is one that I think often gets overlooked, and then where and how it's tossed. So I think you guys are doing a great job looking at kind of all of those factors and then setting a long-term legacy plan for those, you know, making those better and better as you go. So thank you for your work. With that said, this is kind of a quick lightning round question, but I want to hear you guys brag a little. Tell me about, you know, the most exciting impact metrics that you're hearing in your business right now. And if there's anything else that you feel, you know, should be highlighted, like, please feel free to have this time to be a quick, we offset this many carbon emissions, or also, you know, we're headed towards this goal and we're making this impact that way. And since this is the theme now, we're going to start with Art again and go the same direction.
Well, so I would say that the thing that really excited us was getting an actual number on carbon emission offset when a customer goes ahead and upcycles stuff into the dog bed. And so, you know, we did that at the end of last year at 85%. And we also are, because some folks want a stuffed dog bed. They don't want, you know, they like the idea, but they want a stuffed dog bed. And so we went out and sourced responsibly sourced wool here in California. And we measured that at, I think it's 63% offset when you do that instead. So we're excited about this.
Awesome. And I mean, that fits into the practicality we've been talking about, right? If they're not going to adopt it from you, if it doesn't have the filling, then you got to give them a more sustainable, you know, it's the same thing with the repurpose where it's a step in the right direction. And that education is also going to help them maybe refill something else.
That's right.
Great. Dan, how about you?
Yeah. So hot off the press numbers wise, for us with our plastic neutral certification, we so far have offset 9,300 kilos of waste. We've diverted that. We are employing 200 waste workers in South America right now that are reclaiming the plastic that would otherwise potentially wash into the ocean and turning this into other products. And we've offset 25 tons of CO2, or we've avoided that, excuse me. That's just with our plastic neutral program that we started just a couple of years ago. So yeah, pretty cool on that side. We're doing a bunch of other programs, but around the plastic, that's the big story right now.
Woohoo, that's awesome. Sorry, I'm still on mute for the woohoo, the first one, but that's great.
That's all right. I got the sentiment. I appreciate it.
Yeah,
So.
that's great. How about Better Bone? What are you guys up to?
Yeah, so really our kind of just released leashes and collars. They're all fair trade, ocean-bound plastic. Our partners are plasticsforchange.org. They're a fantastic group that employs underserved communities throughout India, typically lower caste, people that aren't even allowed to work, specifically women typically. We're super excited to launch that to go along with the CO2 savings. We haven't actually sold enough to have any sort of viable data as far as CO2 savings, but we're just really excited to finally get that product out there. We think it's a great alternative to some of the things that are in the market. And yeah, that's really been my pet project. Also that the dogs love the bones. That's like the biggest thing.
That's so
People
great.
send
I
me
know.
puppy pictures and
Yeah, that's so special. I love that. And like we said, the quality is so important. Okay, this is my last scheduled question, but happy to ask more and fall down more rabbit holes. But this is my favorite question to ask if I'm facilitating a panel of our brands, because I think all too often, both social and sustainability impact, but especially sustainability, is framed around a lot of kind of like shoulds and things like that. And frankly, that's brain chemistry wise, not what motivates anyone, right? If we're just saying, well, you should be doing this other thing. That's why we say ease without apathy. But I love hearing from brands like you guys who are in the weeds, working on this all the time, thinking about these things all the time. What is the perfect world around your kind of niche if everybody adopted this product, product or kind of solution in case of many products like some of you have, that you guys offer? Kind of what does that world look like? Paint us a picture. I think coming from an inspiration and solution side can be a lot more motivating to those of us who are shopping for things. So yeah, we'll start with Art again, not to put you on the spot, but yeah, what's your perfect world?
I think it's, what is it? Going backwards to go forwards. My parents came up in the Great Depression. And so, it was not a disposable economy. It was very much an intentional. And the idea of a quote unquote hand-me-down clothes, which, a person of a certain age today probably doesn't even know what that is. That's a resold something these days. But, in those days, patchwork quilt, hand-me-downs, so whatever. So to me, the perfect world is people start thinking about uses for things that they otherwise might throw away. And, simple solutions, simple things that can be done. In our world, obviously, if there were 100 brands doing stuff it yourself dog beds, that'd be great. It would be like walking down the beer aisle. You don't need one type of beer. You pick the beer you want. But boy, you get all these choices. So, we encouraging products and encouraging consumers and really retailers to select products that have a good multiple purpose use.
That's awesome. And I think it is the reason I love to work with brands like all of you is that part of your perfect world is that your solution gets normalized, which frankly would kind of, not make you guys obsolete. Hopefully it would increase it because there's a huge market for this. But all too often I get asked if we are, worried that other, competitors will come into the space. I'm like, no, I would love, the real competitor is an Amazon or any really big box that's not putting this intentionality. So I love that that's part of your perfect world. I think that shows a lot of the heart behind your brand and the true impact you're looking for. So, but also that education and inspire. You see a dog bed in your living room all the time, and it can remind you, oh, I could do something else here. That's great.
And you said some very nice, high, lofty goals, and thank you for that. We also know we'd kick their butt if they did. So.
I mean, your designs are really, really nice. So I don't doubt it. That's great. Cool. Dan, how about you?
Yeah, if I think about the perfect world, long term, we spend a lot of time thinking about ways to lessen our impact, but I feel like that's kind of, unfortunately, that's doing less bad rather than doing more good. And so, if if I were to have, my perfect world, every time that somebody picked up a treat, the ocean would have less trash in it and the air would get cleaner, right? And that would be pretty awesome if you could have that experience where every time I do this, things get better rather than things are basically at the status quo or, getting a little bit less worse, over time. That's not really awesome, but if like things actually got better, that would be amazing, right? That would feel like progress in a major way. So that's what it would look like for me. I recognize we got a long ways to go, but that's the North Star.
Yeah, I totally agree. I think the net positive is the goal, not just net zero, right? Not just with carbon emissions is where we hear it a lot, but net positive impact overall. One thing I really love is that you guys being this simple switch is kind of doing that, right? Because not only are people buying your products, which are making a better impact, but they're also not buying the products that are making the negative impact that would have happened. So it is kind of double. I think sometimes people don't think about it. I get really excited when people make that switch because, we heard a lot in the last few years about the concept of like divestment and investment, and they really are divesting from that negative impact and then putting it towards positive impact. So love that goal. Let's all work on it together. Retailers, brands, consumers, all alike. And Chisholm, better bone.
Yeah, I mean, to kind of echo Dan's point here, we're hoping that the materials that we're using, and also celebrating some of our supply partners like Plastics for Change, and then our material in the dog bone industry, just hopefully making the new normal within this entire category would be fantastic and really is our hope, which I think is why we're treading so carefully and to take our time to really develop something that is useful to a broad spectrum of other manufacturers as well. I mean, that's the whole point here. Obviously we have a business to run, but the ultimate goal is to make an actual change and make an actual difference in something that's acceptable to the end user, that they can understand, to your point, that it's actually simple, that they understand what the product is, why it's better, and why it's an obvious change. So for us, it's, our lofty goal is hopefully actually becoming the standard material for the industry. And we really hope we can become that. So
yeah, I love it. Like I said, this is the dream if everyone adopted your solution. And I think there's some things that are just outdated. And I think the more, ease that you guys, the more simple switch, I don't mean to it's just an easy way to phrase it, which is why it's our name, but the more simple switches you guys offer people, these things, it really does become why do we even have this other option? And I love seeing those things kind of become obsolete, and I think they are. So can't wait for that to be the case for all three of your companies, and just so many pet brands that we've learned about through here. So it looks like we have a poll coming up here, which is awesome. So I'm going to hand it over to Ashley, and I think questions are welcome if you guys grab the Q&A, right? And we're going to take a poll here. I'm excited about this.
Thanks, Rachel. Thanks, Chisholm. Thanks, Dan and Art, for such a wonderful conversation. I know I really enjoyed it, and I hope everyone listening did as well. So we just launched a poll here to ask, how important is sustainability in making your purchasing decisions? We had not important, somewhat important, important, very important, and the most important. Most people came in at 44% of very important. No one said that it was not important, so that's exciting. With the next most popular being important, 35%, but we do have a few people also saying that it is the most important. So Rachel, I have a question for you. We just heard from 3 wonderful brands that we work with here at PSC, but as you know, we work with a lot of great brands outside of these guys. So if I was a brand wanting to get involved with Simple Switch or to learn more, what would you recommend that I do?
Yeah, if you guys are looking to get involved as a seller, so as a brand, the 3 of you included, absolutely, but anyone on here is great. You guys can actually apply to sell on Simple Switch. There's our about kind of tab on the website. There's an apply to sell with us. You can also, if you have, that's going to be your fastest response because that's what we're always kind of moving through. But if you are, if you have questions, you want to get in touch with our brands team, which is myself and Jean, our brand coordinator. You can email partners@simpleswitch.org. I'm not sure if I'm able to, if I put something in the chat, I don't think it goes to everyone. So, but partners@simpleswitch.org is the best way to do that. And yeah, I mean, I think we would love to have, we have very few pet brands right now. Actually, here's my confession is that I have 14 pets, but they are chickens. And so I sometimes forget about how important, these products are. So it was great to be here today. And I have so many wonderful friends with pets and I dog sit and all sorts of things. So I'm excited to do it as gifts, but our customers have been vying for these kind of products that you guys have and asking for them. So please do contact us about selling and we would love to partner with you guys. And I also wanted to make a quick note that it didn't let me vote since I was the panelist, but I would have probably put very important or important rather than most important. And that is why we focus on the simple switch thing, right? Because even me, who for my full-time job thinks about this and has access to the most amazing brands, sometimes it isn't the most important thing. Sometimes the most important thing is getting it, easily. And so that is really the problem that we're trying to solve, is not just we're drilling down to the most sustainable thing, because truly it would be not to have any of these products to the most sustainable thing, right? I just wanted to, that's kind of my soapbox, is that's important too, like the ease, and we say winsome. Also, we want all this to be winsome, and those things, whether we self-report it or not, are very important to us when we purchase products. So I just wanted to throw that out there because I liked your poll.
Awesome. Thanks, Rachel.
Yeah. And if you want to get involved or if you want to get in touch for other reasons, LinkedIn is a great way to do that. I'm happy to drop my link in the chat, but also I think I'm the only Rachel Quist there on LinkedIn. And then if you guys want to email hello@simpleswitch.org, that's kind of our customer service team with more general questions.
Awesome. Thank you. So back to the part of communicating our impact. I just wanted to share something with you that happens around our household. We have a Molly Mutt bed that we love. And just a little tip here. One of our favorite things to say is, I'm going through my closet. There's something that's been in there for a while. I no longer wear it, but I'm super sentimentally attached, or, don't want to get rid of it. So we have a fun slogan around our house that goes, put it in the Molly Mutt bed. So that's just also another kind of fun thing too, where we, another piece of the puzzle of not wanting a lot of things that we don't want to get rid of or that we have around. It's because there's an emotional attachment. So that's something fun that we have started saying around our household. That's definitely
Love it.
So
Thank you for sharing.
Yeah. Okay. Well, I just want to thank you guys so much for joining us today. This has been a wonderful conversation. I'm excited to get the recording out to everyone and to get it on our socials and up on our website. Just really happy to have you guys and appreciate you making the time to come today and share about your brands and your stories and the impact you're making. And thank you so much, Rachel, for a very thoughtful interview and panel. And I appreciate you joining as well. If anyone, I'm going to put up one last slide here. If anyone has questions for me or for PSC or wants to get involved, we have an email address here. If you reach out to info@petsustainability.org, that will be a great way to get in touch with our team, and we can kind of direct you to the best person from there. We look forward to hearing from anyone with any follow-up questions or interest. And again, thank you guys so much today for joining us, and look forward to the next time.
Awesome.
Bye,
Yeah,
everyone.
let's do it again someday. Thanks, everybody.
Thank you very much.
Enjoy your
Awesome.
prep today.
Thanks,
Thank
guys.
you.